The year is 2021 and New Masters Academy is still the absolute #1 online art school on the planet. That's right, on the planet. Click the link down below for a free 7-day trial. Thank you, New Masters Academy. Everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for the Hollywood animation industry.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Now today we're going to talk about what to do when you fall out of love with being an artist or a creative person or creating altogether.
But before we get into it, make sure to like, jingle, touch all our bells and buttons.
Over there.
Feed the algorithm.
And also.
Yes.
You look really, really, really good. You know, it's getting warmer. It's getting a little warmer outside. Showing a little bit more skin. I like it. How do they look?
They look great.
They look so good.
We look a little toastier.
Yeah, we went to the beach recently.
Yes.
For the first time in forever. Oh, don't give us a copyright strike. Also, how good of a week are they going to have?
They're going to have a really great week.
They're going to have such a great week, man.
Because you're going to have a really great Monday because you're listening to this podcast.
Yeah. So, Janet.
Yes.
How is your relationship with drawing?
Well, I think maybe I'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
And explain how I fell in love, or how I knew that I was passionate about art, or anything, really. And if I can look all the way back, I really liked anime.
Oh.
I think that's...
What were your favorites off the top of your head?
Hunter x Hunter, Yu Yu Hakusho, I liked a lot of really bad anime that I don't think anyone would recognize.
Some romance ones too.
Yeah, like shoujo anime.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
That's not...
Yeah. But it started very innocently with that. And I think that's when you don't really know that you have a passion for anything. You just like doing a thing. So, you know, drawing Pokemon characters when you're really little doesn't equate passion. But I think when I really, really got interested in it was when I discovered like online MMORPGs, the Asian ones.
You would play the Ragnaroks?
Yes. And the thing is, I love RPG games, but kind of because it's they're the more beautiful designed games. Like, you're trying to get me into a lot of other kind of RPG games, and if it doesn't meet a certain threshold of beauty, I really don't like it.
You don't like it. So, for example, you don't like Western RPG games. For example,
yeah.
I'm trying to get Janet into Mass Effect this month. This month is May, by the time this episode comes out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm trying to get her into it, but what do you think of Mass Effect?
I just think it's really ugly. I'm sorry. I know everyone tells me it's a really good game,
it's
but
so good.
I try to play it. I feel like a few times. I get really into the character creation thing and really make sure it looks exactly like me or whatever character I model it off of. But after that, I just lose complete interest because it's so ugly.
It looks a little bit better.
Yeah, but also let
us know in the comments if you're interested in Janet playing Mass Effect.
Oh God.
Continue, sorry.
I wonder if we can get a certain amount of likes or views. I guess I'll play it, but so I really liked video game companies like Square Enix, and that kind of really typical girl gamer likes that kind of stuff.
Big pointy layered
anime,
hair,
semi-realism.
And then belts where there shouldn't be belts and zippers.
It's more about the it looks like anime, but a little bit more realistic anime. Just like everything you see now, basically. And I really, really, really liked that, and I started drawing it a lot like a lot. And it's also when I kind of found out there was a career to create this kind of art. Like, someone had to make it. Why couldn't that someone be me? So I think I developed my passion in conjunction with realizing this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. I don't really think I knew what, like, you know, when you're a kid, they like tell you, oh, write a little paragraph of what you want to be when you grow up. Some people will be like, I want to be a firefighter.
I'll be an astronaut.
Yeah. I want to be president. Usually they're like, the school president. I want to be president. I didn't really have that until I realized, like, oh, you mean there are people who design characters for like video games like Final Fantasy and that kind of thing. I want to do that. That sounds cool, but that doesn't mean I knew what that job entailed. Just the idea of it sounded cool, that I can do this for a living. And I guess that's when I realized I loved drawing. And it was also, I'm really nerdy.
How nerdy?
School, once I figured it out, because I used to get really bad grades in like elementary school. But then when I figured school out, like I figured out there's basically a formula to it, I became really, really good at school. And it's like not challenging to me, or like it's boring to me to do math, to read and research and that kind of, it's just like, just memorize, and then you like regurgitate, and then you get an A. Like, it's just boring. And I really gravitated to anything creative, whether it was music or dance or art, because the creativity side of it was just meant it was 1,000 times more challenging than anything I ever had to do.
There wasn't anything to memorize.
No.
It was more difficult because you know, there's creativity and all that stuff involved.
Yeah, it was more difficult and therefore just more interesting. Like, it held my attention longer than, like, you know,
I don't
anything else.
think there's anyone in the audience who can relate to what you're talking about.
I know.
Well, you explain. This is one of your famous cocktail stories that you say. Like when everyone goes around the party saying with their cocktail shrimp going like, oh, how did you get into being an artist? And everyone goes like, oh, this, oh, that, and then you come along and you go, oh, everything else was just boring as so I just became an artist because why not?
I remember I didn't realize how abnormal saying that was until I said it for the first time. And I remember one of my classmates at the time in the college was like, so you're saying you're smart, you're too smart, and that's why you chose the most difficult thing you could find. And I'm like, that's not really what I meant, but I guess. And then I realized, like, oh, other people don't feel this way.
No.
Not like no one else.
Zero.
It's just me.
Zero. That's how you know Janet's a freak, man. That's how you know she's like, what is it, 0.8% of the population?
Yeah, like 0.8%.
Everyone does this because it's my dream. It's my dream. My teacher said I draw good, so I'm a famous artist now. I worked really, really hard. And then you're just like, well, I just kind of did it because I got bored with doing math, and history is just memorizing things, and chemistry is just more formulas to
memorize,
regurgitate, internalize.
Yeah, and that's been that way, I guess. Like, it's how I realized I really like storyboarding as well, because I mean, at a certain point in college, once you get past like foundational stuff, once you get past just literally struggling to draw something in perspective, to draw a cube and a sphere, to be able to just draw one, and then when you get past the like, man, why do my paintings look mushy, to like, hey,
not so mushy,
I can paint a thing. Once you get there, again, I got there, I was like, okay, I'm kind of bored. And then, because like I knew I wasn't.
Wait, what kept you from trying to grind to become, Richard Smith or somebody?
Well,
why, like, you could clearly say and give up like, oh, I'm bored, but like that's sort of, you basically just, were able to do the most basic things you didn't care to get really, really good at the thing?
Well, I knew that if I just did this like 1,000, 10,000 more times, I'll eventually get there.
Yeah, you know, learning is like when you're learning how to do the thing, it is the most exciting.
Yeah.
Because after that, it's just mileage. You just do it to over and over and over.
And that's
again.
when it gets boring. Because like, I mean, that's one of the things I learned from high school too, because I was in color guard and it was very grueling since the team was just so elite at the time, that our coach was really hard on us. That's why I wasn't very intimidated by a lot of our teachers, which I think also put them off because some of them want you to be intimidated of them.
It's very hard to intimidate Janet.
Yeah.
Very, very difficult.
But because I've been yelled at in front of like hundreds of people, being called out in the football stadium. Why didn't you hit your mark? Like my coach told a girl to jump up, do the splits, land on the AstroTurf. She did it, bounced, land again, and then tore her hamstring. And then he was like, oops. Like that's how intense my coach was. So I was like, yeah, I'm used to being berated by people to get good. And I also was used to like you at a certain point you're learning it and it's fun and you're passionate and you're like, ooh, this is so fun, I get to do this thing. And then once you get past that, it's not fun. It's grueling. It's like you wake up 6 a.m. in the morning every single day to like possibly get hit in the head by a metal pole spinning around in the air every single day doing the same thing. And like it's not fun, but you know you're doing it just to get like a few % better every single day. And then when you really feel the results of it is when you go and you perform and you win sweepstakes or gold or whatever it is. And then you finally, in the moment, adrenaline is pumping, you're nervous, whatever, your mind is blank and you have to rely on muscle memory to trigger to make sure that you move. Because like if you need the philosophy is like you need to perform and do this task so many times that you can do it in your sleep, so that even when you are like stricken with stage fright or something like that, your body moves on its own.
Right.
Like you don't even need to think about it.
Yeah, that's similar when I was in theater and we'd be practicing lines for months and months and months. And then the first night was always the scariest, at least for me. And then as soon as like, you know, it's your time, you go on stage and you just forget everything. And you know you just have to do the thing. You just have to sing the thing and you have to say the things. And that's it. And it's sort of like that, I assume, right?
Yeah.
And like it's like terrifying at first. It's like, I'm sure you would you get nervous during these competitions?
It's like a crazy amount of not stage fright, just adrenaline and like fear, and you feel like you're gonna throw up but you're not.
But then as soon as whenever the thing happens and it starts, you just kind of have to do it. But the thing is like as soon as it starts, I don't know, I don't feel like I wouldn't freeze because I've been working on this for months. I think the difference between, like our coach always said, like if you do freeze and you don't move or like you forget or whatever, it kind of means you didn't practice enough. It kind of means like you just didn't put in enough work. And it's the difference between like gold is actually second place. Sweepstakes is like you won the competition. If you didn't win sweepstakes, like it wouldn't feel good. Like you'd feel like, oh, I could have practiced more or whatever. But then like when you won gold, you feel kind of like all those painful being yelled at, all those grueling hours. Icing your wounds.
Like I got hit in the face, in the nose with like a rifle. Like there's this thing where you like.
That's why your nose is so flat.
No, that's not why. I knew you were gonna make that joke.
Sorry, my love.
But like, there's this thing. Our coach would try to make us do more and more dangerous things.
You see what I can get away with.
Yeah. So like we had to like toss our rifles to each other, and like we did it so many times. When you do it like over and over and over again, it becomes like second nature to you, that you don't think about it. But it's when you don't think about it that it's like the spinning piece of wood, like 10-pound piece of wood coming at my face, and I got hit in the head with a rifle, and just like blood everywhere.
Yikes. All it takes is for you to think like, oh man, I'm hungry, what am I gonna eat?
Yeah, when it's just like, oops, oh god. And then there's this other thing where like you have to spin it backhanded, which means it's very difficult to land, and you have to do it in succession, like over 10 times in a row. And the process of getting it is you hitting yourself with a rifle like every single second, and then we'd end up with like welts, just like huge welts on our like legs and our arms, like just bruises, just giant nasty bruises. And then it's just, yeah, it was bad. But all those times make it like, that's the only time it feels satisfying, the only time that pain was worth it. And like it kind of tests your will if you really like this thing. And even then it's like you might not, even if you loved it, eventually it'll wear down, like that joy. Things being challenging is exactly why I got into storyboarding. Halfway through college, you kind of have to pick what you want to do, and specifically I really like storyboarding because I don't think I ever fell in love with the act of drawing or the act of painting. Like there are moments I enjoy it.
You don't have like that sense of satisfaction when you're rubbing your palm through the bond paper.
I
charcoal.
do, but it's not like a deep, like, I love it. It's like occasionally I get in the zone and then it feels good, but like 90% of the time it feels okay, I guess. It feels fine. So I liked storyboarding because there was like an end goal. Again, like I like the challenge of something. It keeps me interested. So like if I just draw a nice drawing, I don't care. There's no, like, the challenge is in the act of drawing itself, and then once it's done it's like, okay, now what? But with storyboarding it just felt like there was a point to all the drawing. Like I'm making something more than just the drawing itself. I'm telling a story. I'm trying to make a point. Whatever. It just was so much more interesting to me, and challenging, because how challenging is it to get a good drawing? Like you draw until your arm falls off, and then eventually you'll get a good drawing. Yeah.
You
Simple.
Reverse it. You draw it again.
Yeah.
Turn it upside down. You draw it again.
Yeah.
Flip it right side up again. You draw it again.
Yeah.
Until voila, it looks good.
Yeah, magically you take some reference. Good.
Yeah.
But like for designing a good story or being able to communicate an important message or whatever, that's difficult. There's so many people who can't do that. And people train to be able to do that, and I think the best people who do that are like gazillionaires. They really know how to convince people of something. So that's why I fell in love with storyboarding. But the problem with that is because I don't have that like, ooh, I love drawing, I kind of hate storyboarding 90% of the time. Like,
it's grueling.
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then you get to finally see your work at the end.
And it's like, cool.
Imagine making like a video, but then physically drawing the frames of a video.
Yeah.
But then you get that satisfaction of like, oh, I finished my video. What does it look like at the end?
The finished thing lasts, like, that sense of accomplishment lasts for like a minute. And then the rest is just weeks of, I hate myself. Why did I do this to myself? Like, why? I go like, why did I every single time there's like a moment where I'm like, why did I choose this for myself? I don't even like this. And then I see the finished thing and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, I love it. And it happens all over again. What about you? How did you start? How did you figure out art was your passion?
I think I explained in a previous podcast that I got into it because I got really competitive about it. But, as I would practice and all this stuff, I would get really romantic about, getting really nice paper and like how it would feel against my palm, and getting really nice ink and how it smells. Like, just the whole sensory experience of drawing. I really liked it. And like for me, going to a drawing workshop was one of my favorite things to do. I don't know how else people relax, but I think it's a really relaxing place, for me at least. I just get to play. There's no expectation, especially if it's like, what do you call that? Unrestricted? Or I forgot what you call it. Like if it's just like, I just feel like I can do whatever I want, and no one gets to tell me what to do, and I just get to relax and draw the model or whatever it is. And I would get really passionate about it, really romantic about it, and it was cool, especially at Art Center, making art friends, because it when you're just in high school, some people who draw and who are really good, but like when you go to when you go to school like that, it's like you meet some crazy people who can do some crazy things, and ended up doing some crazy things. But yeah, that's how I started. And that's how I felt about it. I think I was much more romantic. It certainly wasn't something I did because for me, it was the opposite. I don't know how to do anything else. I don't know history. I don't know maths. I love English, but everything else I do not like. I do not like biology. I do not like chemistry. I do not like anything else. But yeah, art was the thing that like I excelled in. And I was really excited when I was a senior in high school. The idea of going to a school where finally it was like my arena. It's like, oh, finally I don't have to deal with math. I don't have to deal with chemistry and all that bullshit. I can just like draw and paint all day, every day. And little did I know that like for a year that was really fun. And then and like for that year it was sort of like, if we're going to compare it to your Colligard baton throwing experience, it was like that learning period where you're getting hurt a lot and you're suffering a lot, but then you make it past 14 weeks and you're like, oh, I can't believe it. You get to like stand on top of this mountain that you climbed on, and then you get to look and like really enjoy the fruits of your labor, and that was really exciting. But it can get really grueling the more and more you do it. And then when I graduated, I thought, okay. Now I'm not going to do art for grades. That was whack as shit. I don't like doing that. That just kind of defeats the whole purpose of the whole thing. I don't like doing art for grades. And it creates, the whole, and then going to art school, the same trappings, ass kissers and all those, just like the typical characters you see at school, the annoying people who interrupt all the time. All that stuff still happens in art school. It's not like everybody figured out how to be a mature adult in college. Give me a break. But for me, I thought if I were to get hired doing art, it would change. And when I did, it was really exciting, especially getting hired in my first, oh, this is like a big studio. This is like a big deal. And it was exciting. But then, and then you realize that like when you're in the workplace, it's really not that different from being in a classroom anyway.
Yeah.
Still, the same things that bother you about people will bother people at school, especially you youngsters at school. The same things that bother you about school people and school kids you will encounter when you are an adult working in any industry, because people are people. And it was naive of me to think that people change.
That you become mature. Put together humans.
And
graduated.
Yeah, and then when you come to this realization, you get a little bit bitter. And then every day you're doing this thing, you get a little bit more bitter. And then what I thought was really fun to make money for art, with art is great, but like there's a ceiling to it. I can only make this much amount of money, and that's it. And in order for me to really like reap have the fruits of my labor, I would have to save money, to not spend anything, or I have to sell something in order to buy something, or pinch pennies or something to really make the money that I'm making worth it, because it's expensive. It's expensive to live here.
Yeah.
If you're not like, you have to do a lot to save. I mean, we make good money, yeah, but like you have to do a lot to keep that money.
Yeah.
It's literally everywhere you look. Starbucks, In-N-Out, Shake Shack, just everything. Movies, like entertainment, video games are just calling for your attention.
Yeah.
Calling for your money.
Rent.
Rent, yes, exactly. Tax, water fees, water and power, electricity. Everything is just, I want the money that you make.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. And then you get more bitter. You get a little bit more bitter. And then I guess this is what people call growing up. Like you just get more and more bitter because society, you just like really feel society fuck you. Like you really feel it.
Yeah.
And you get more and more bitter, and then you go like, wait. Can we just maybe this was a farce this whole time. Maybe if we just go back to just drawing, like when I was a kid, I was like really passionate, romantic about like, drawing for myself and things like that, and being competitive. Like what happened to that? Maybe being competitive with myself, being a better artist than I was yesterday. What happened to that? And then you think, oh yeah, maybe we can go back to that. Maybe we can. And then you realize, oh, I'm a art director. Oh, oh, yes!
I am still listening to Thinking Fast and Slow by Daniel Kahneman. It is a very good psychology book to basically teach you how all our brains work. And if you want to listen to this audiobook, head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you'll get 1 free audiobook or 2 free Audible original audiobooks. That's 3 audiobooks in total. And they have podcasts, meditation, and a whole lot more. So head over to audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast.
What time do you guys close today? 9 o'clock. Okay, thank you so much. All right, you too. Bye-bye. So they finished Butters.
Yay!
You want to tell everybody what Butters is?
Oh, I bought Vincent his 30th birthday gift.
Yay!
And it's a guitar that looks like butter.
Yeah. We saw it in a pawn shop, and I was really infatuated with it because you were like, I'm going to get you a nice treat for your 30th birthday. And then I took it to the Guitar Center in Pasadena, and then they said they're done fixing it up. That's what I hate about buying guitars.
Yeah, that's
like
setting it up.
I genuinely just want it to be perfect when I start playing. So as soon as I buy a guitar, I immediately send it to the shop to get fixed up the way I like it. Anyway, I was talking about...
and then you become an art director.
Oh, yeah. Then you suddenly realize, I'm an art director. I'm an animation supervisor. I can't draw for fun anymore, man. I have to supervise all these people. I have to make sure, I have to give these people notes and all this stuff. And then after that, I probably have to do freelance, Art is like, I don't know, if you're a talented coder, you're plugging in whatever. With art, instead of plugging in whatever, you're using your talent to make a cartoon show, for example. And it's strenuous because creativity, I feel like people would agree, is like a muscle.
Yeah, it's not like a never-ending faucet.
Yeah.
Like, we get drained of it. And, like, if you drain us too much of it, it's like you take our life force and we're like,
I'm dying.
That's what working feels like.
I'm turning into a blob.
Yeah. I'm shriveling. Yeah. I think I definitely felt that. Like, okay, so the first time I ever felt that was when I interned for the first time. And I was very an overachiever in everything that I did in school. So when I went to my internship, I also wanted to be an overachiever in everything that I did. In every project that I was a part of, every commercial, every movie, like animated thing, like I would go 110%, which would tire me out by the end of the day, and I had to drive basically 2.5, sometimes 3 hours back and forth, so sometimes 6 hours a day, just driving back and forth to my internship and back, because I'd have to go all the way to the beach and back, and the traffic is awful. And I'd be really tired because I'm learning a lot and it's really engaging to me, but I'm also like I'm putting everything I have into this. It's my first internship. I'm getting paid. This is like my first professional setting. It's like the start of my career. But then like the first time you get that really difficult thing, realization that like your taste, your opinion, your talent, none of that matters if the client doesn't like it.
Yeah.
If the client,
And you might disagree completely with the client.
Yeah.
But that's not your personal feelings aren't on the table ever.
Yeah. Or if you're like collaborating in a group and eventually you decide with someone else's idea, not necessarily because it's the best idea, but because of so many other things, budget, time, practicality. And when you're someone like me and you put 110%, at that point it wasn't even about my ego because it was about what I thought was best for the project, and I genuinely would feel constantly this really frustrated, angry feeling that like, why would you choose to do something that's not best for the project? But at the end of the day, I'm just an intern. I'm just a freelancer. I'm just whatever. And that's when I think the first time I truly felt burnout, because I had worked myself so hard for that internship, just to realize that like, even if I gave you everything, you don't care. You don't care. You're paying me for a certain objective, to fulfill a certain prompt, to whatever. Good is not even part of the factor here. It's about, does it fulfill the requirements? And I realized I had to put like 70% of my efforts into work, if that. Because one, it's a marathon. You have to do this basically once you graduate for the rest of your life. And two, if you put 100%, I would say more than 80%, your heart is going to get broken like
every day.
Every single day.
Oh, I remember my very first animation project at Starburns.
Yeah.
I really put my heart and soul into that.
And I told you, don't stop. You need to stop.
And then as soon as everyone kind of had a feeling that the show would never come out.
Yeah, never be greenlit.
Never be greenlit. I would be like, what? What? We worked so hard. Yeah. We worked so hard. We put our heart and souls into it. At least I did. Yeah, how foolish was I?
You were so heartbroken. I told you.
I was so heartbroken. I was so heartbroken because it was my first show.
I know.
I mean, how else was I supposed to feel? And it's hard to like, you know, you work so hard for the and to be in a TV show, you know, and mine never got greenlit. But you know, I bet if I took that job now, it would be like, whatever.
It's just a job.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say here is like, you have to go through those experiences.
Yeah.
You know, it's like dating. Molly, you don't know what that is. You know, it's like you have to, you know, it's like skating. You know, I'm sure you could imagine. You fall down, it hurts, but you gotta learn how to skate anyway. You know, it hurts, but you get up and, you know, like Alfred, what do we do when we fall? What do we do when we fall, Bruce? We get back up or whatever bullshit. You know, Jonathan Nolan wrote whatever. Yeah, that's what you gotta do in life, in everything. It doesn't matter if you're, you know, an athlete, if you're writing, if you're a creative person, you're just going to have to get your ass beat a lot. You're going to have to lose a lot in order to taste any kind of victory.
So what was it for you that made you realize like you didn't like really have the same passion for it anymore? Oh,
I think like 2 years ago, I was thinking, when we graduated, most people kind of take a break after they graduate. You and I kind of immediately worked on getting really, really, really good after we graduated. So we went to the workshops, like I think 2 or 3 times a week, every week, until we got hired, which was like a year and a half later.
Yeah.
But that's all we did. And that was really fun and exciting because you and I, we haven't been to the workshop since, first semester basically. And that was exciting, rediscovering, drawing and going to the workshops again. But then when we got hired, I think you would start getting tired and I would still have a lot of verve because I wasn't in, especially a storyboarding job. I wasn't in that kind of strenuous position. But when things started to get heavier for me, and when I was working on more strenuous projects or more demanding projects, it would be hard to do the thing because it's like going to the gym for us. It's like, oh yeah, we're going to the workshop. It would be very, very difficult to draw for myself. But then a couple of years ago, I made a conscious effort. Like, I'm going to go out and force myself to paint and draw. And I did really well. I took a few classes. I painted for myself. I really got to a point because I was so at painting for the longest time. And there was a certain time that I thought it was going to be hopeless. Like me getting halfway decent at painting means the world to me because you don't understand how bad I was at this shit, man. Like my values would be all over the place. Like, I would try to, be emotional about my color, but as soon as you squint your eyes, there's no more painting. You can't see anything. It's just mushy. But I worked really, really hard at it. And eventually, especially that year that I'm talking about, I got really happy with my painting. Now, I'm obviously not James Gurney or Richard Schmidt or anything, but like I was told at school all the time that you're better off as a draftsman. You draw really good, but this painting, not for you. And that would like flatter me, yes. Like, oh, that's good that you recognize I'm actually good at something artistic, but like, it annoys me. It annoys my man pride to have been told that like you're really good at this, but this, you're gonna be great at that. Don't do that. And it makes me, and like we're gonna talk about building up talent stacks very soon, but like it made me really want like to go, hey man. At the time I was like 26 or 27. Hey man, I'm young. I don't want to accept my fate that I'm a draftsman, that I just, that's all I know how to do is just draw. I'm young enough to be able to force myself to learn how to do this. So when I learned how to paint, I took it super seriously, but like I recently got my new job at this big studio and I was like, oh, this is great. But it was also super, super strenuous for so many reasons. The work was tough because there was a lot of it. It was my first time having to deal with social stuff, office politics for the first time. Because working at Starburns was just like just a bunch of punks, just a bunch of punks in a
on the breaks.
Just don't say that. Don't say that. But it started to get really not fun when like, these types of issues arise. You were also having a hard time, like, you were at DuckTales and you were having a hard time at work. And like drawing and at the time for me painting would just be work, and if we really thought about it, it was the source of a lot of our problems. Not anxiety, is just like it was a strain. It was stressed. And I think that's what I think was, truly, I was already feeling like, oh man, I need to stop drawing already, but I wanted to force myself because, I wanted to try really, really hard. I was also really into Instagram, like, oh, I want to, get a ton of followers and all that bullshit. But I sort of got really frustrated and upset and angry at that time about a lot of things. And just like that, like I was in this situation, and that like, especially at that time, I really saw myself as just an artist. Like I'm just gonna draw for the rest of my life, and if I lost my hands or if I lost my eyes, my life would be meaningless. Like I would like if I still kept that mindset and I lost my hands or my eyes, I'd probably just be a really mad old curmudgeon for the rest of my life. Everything's hopeless.
Yeah.
But like I don't see the world in that way now. Now that like I've officially said that like I don't really like drawing, I don't really like painting much right now. I mean, I don't know, I could feel it. You know, I keep telling you like I feel it bubbling inside me. Maybe I kind of want to draw. I kind of want to, you know, it's been 2 years, but I kind of want to draw and paint again. But right now, no. It's just not fun. It doesn't do me anything. And everything that it used to give me is what music gives me now.
But you had like kind of a hard time coming to terms with that.
I had a really hard time. I was really, really angry at myself that like, wait, why like I need to stop being a I need to and I need to like accept that this is what you've always wanted. Why are you getting really emotional about this? And it's one of those things where these are one of these sneaking types of problems where like you can't identify it because you're so much in goddamn denial of what's going on that you can't possibly fathom. It's maybe this art thing is like, you know,
doesn't make you happy.
Doesn't make me happy. Maybe it's work, and that's okay. It's not like I should quit, but I should accept the fact that like this is work now, and maybe one day I'll you know, be okay with drawing again. But right now, taking some time off.
You specifically had to have someone tell you.
Yeah. So I think this was 2019. My friend, good buddy, is working. What do you call it? Being a counselor? Yeah. Working on whatever kind of degree. I don't know what normal people do to get their degrees. I'm an artist, but like he was working on getting his degree as a counselor, and for his finals, he basically needed to corral a few people that he knows as guinea pigs for these budding counselors, right? So because the timing was perfect. Like I was feeling all sorts of like feelings, and like, you know, I was considering like, because we have like we're able to get therapy or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a part of our negotiation or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I was always like, oh, I could always do that. But then since my friend offered this opportunity, I was like, oh, well, I guess this is going to be my first experience then. So I offered to be a guinea pig. And I went to Loyola Marymount, LMU, and basically was a guinea pig for a budding counselor who did a great job. But I was... I like these social situations because I like the people thing. I like talking to people, you know, and I like you know, I like catching people off guard or whatever. And when I came in for this counselor, I didn't pull any punches. I told her everything I was thinking about. If she had any anxieties of like, oh, how do I get the patient or the other person to like, you know, open up to me, I was like, don't worry, I got you. Problem is, you're gonna have to work for this right now. So I tell this counselor, this budding counselor, about like all of my worries and the things that I'm feeling. Like I had to basically consolidate who I am in like 5 minutes. Okay, I'm this dude that has drawn all of my life. I don't know anything else other than, you know, what I take the time to learn, like reading and all that stuff. But like other than that, like all I know how to do is draw. And like I'm feeling this way. It was the time too. I was about to work on this really big project, the biggest project I've ever been on, and I was having a lot of like anxious feelings about this because at this point it was a transitionary period between the job that I had at this big studio and maybe being laid off again and trying to find new work or being kept by the studio. And I was like getting really angry about this whole shit that we have to deal with in the industry, that we are just hired and then fired and then hired and then fired, and I just want to fucking relax. I just want to be hired. At that time, I'd been working in animation for at least like 2 years, and I haven't stayed on a project longer than a year. No, to no fault of my own. It's just, you know how it is. The project ends or whatever it is. And I was explaining all of the stuff to my teacher. I mean, not my teacher, my counselor. And she was taking notes furiously. And I basically spill my guts to her for about, I think we had like 3 sessions together. And then by the third one, she was doing her best. You know, she's new at this, and she was really great. But I really felt by the end of this whole thing that I felt the same. That I just felt like I'm still kind of. It felt nice to confide in someone that like is a total stranger, will never know me, will never listen to this podcast because they're in their own life and I'm in mine. But I remember driving home feeling like, oh man, that really didn't do much, except for when my counselor said, you know, and I'm paraphrasing, she said something like, you know, this is a job now. And, you know, and like, you have to accept that. And even though as she said that, I didn't accept it.
Yeah, you're like,
and I was like, no, this is a job. This is my thing. Like, this is my passion. This is my passion. Like, this is what I love to do. And like, there is nothing else. Like, I didn't want to tell her how extreme. I should have probably told her how extremely I felt about it. Like, if I lost my eyes or hands, I would have no use for living on this plane of existence anymore. Yeah. Which is totally not how I feel now. But when she said that, I was still in like denial and disbelief that like I have to accept what? That this is great. Everything's great. I just feel weird. I don't know. Maybe like I just. And then, even though at that moment I didn't feel any different, it was just that idea that I kept thinking about for probably a couple years more, until I finally told you how I was really, really feeling about drawing for myself, or, you know, drawing pictures or painting for myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I don't know if I've explained this before already, but I guess I'll just repeat myself. But when I first realized I didn't like this storyboarding, drawing art thing anymore was when I was still at DreamWorks. It was still very early on, like 2 years in, and we were doing a lot of conventions, and I knew I really liked that, and I could kind of explain it because, again, I had that experience in my internship, like during college, that like, oh, I can't love work. I can love the thing I do outside of work, but I don't love work. It's just work. It's just work. And I thought I would always be okay with that. Because like, obviously anyone who's ever worked any job, even especially if it's their passion, should know that. So what really confused me was how I was feeling at the time. Very similar to you, where I felt it's not something you consciously know that you are feeling.
Oh, I know this time. This was when I was trying to go back to the workshops, and I was really trying to encourage you to go with me, and you were like, absolutely not. Yeah. I can't. Yeah. And literally, I lost my drawing workshop partner. But you really couldn't do it. I remember I took you once, and you were just miserable, and I knew not to take you anymore because it just wasn't what it used to be for you.
Yeah. It's not, like, I wonder if we sound crazy to normal people.
I wonder.
Because it's not something you know is happening to you until much later on. Like, you feel upset, you feel sad, you feel like you're not motivated to do anything, and you are upset at yourself for feeling that way because you're like, what used to cost no energy for me, I would voluntarily go to the workshops because it was fun or stuff like that, now just takes the life out of me, that I cannot bring myself to do it in my own free time or whatever. And it's very confusing. It's very confusing when this is kind of has been your identity for a really long time. Like for us, since were children, like we both don't really remember before drawing. It's like it's been ingrained in us. Like for, I guess if you're so lucky or unfortunate to have been just, your passion very early on in life. But that really does kind of become your identity, that the words, I might not like this anymore, doesn't even register.
You can't even admit it to yourself. I couldn't even admit it to myself until that counselor had to say it for me.
Yeah.
And even then when she said it, I was like, no, what? Poppycock. Like what? That I can't even process what you're saying. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. And then it becomes a little bit painful because you feel bad that you feel this way and you can't explain it. It's not like you can force yourself to like this thing again, because you definitely try. You definitely go like, no, I'm going to force myself to draw more or do this more and like hope that this love for it comes back.
Come back, be rekindled somehow.
So I knew enough that I like dealt with these feelings on my own previously, and I came to that conclusion, maybe I don't like it anymore, but then I was still kind of in denial. I was kind of like, no, that can't be it. But then I was really like, I knew I had that question in my head, at least. I had the words to describe it, that maybe I don't. Because of how much I did like conventioning and doing art on my own, or literally anything on my own outside of work. But it had to be on my own terms, and it can't be about getting better at my animation job, which was what workshops were to me. And so like when I felt brave enough to finally, I guess, say it, I asked a coworker of mine on a show at the time. Like, it was funny, you and I were both in a weird like career transitional phase where like our shows are ending. They all kind of end at the same time anyways.
Right.
Our season was ending, and the studios don't typically tell you immediately when or if they're gonna have another season. So I had been through the ringer a few times already of like possibly getting laid off, having to find work. So it wasn't my first rodeo, and I knew that I needed to pretend like they are. Just assume the worst and assume that you're not getting a second season or another season. Just assume you're out of work in a few months and you need to start looking now.
Right.
And I was kind of like, I have this other thing, this convention thing that makes me money, and I have savings. I can focus on pursuing that, growing social media, or I commit myself to updating my portfolio, reaching out to anyone and everyone, all the recruiters, all my friends, being like, hey, do you have work?
Is anything open?
Yeah, do you know anything at your
projects?
studio?
Yeah.
Is there anything coming up? And that's a grueling process, especially for a more introverted type person who just like, you just want stability sometimes.
I just want to live.
Yeah. And I was like, one, that idea of trying to find work again was kind of like, I really don't want to. Like, for what? Like, so I can get another storyboarding job at another studio. How different is it going to be to this job that I currently am in? And there's something about it that I don't know, I'm burnt out or I don't like it anymore. I don't know what it is. And I confide in my friend, my coworker at the time, about this. And I don't think he could relate. Like, I don't think anyone unless they're going through this can relate. So you end up feeling really lonely and you're going crazy.
Yeah.
But So I obligatorily just kind of like shot out a few emails, not like seriously looking for work, and that's when I landed the DuckTales job, and I was like,
it's when you don't want it when it comes, man.
yeah, I was like, I know this is kind of the same crew that did a lot of like the Gravity Falls stuff, and I always
if you were given this job 2 years ago, knowing that this crew, all this stuff, you'd be over the moon.
Yeah.
But you were really debating it.
Yeah,
You were really debating turning it down.
Yeah, I was kind of like,
And you had to do a test.
yeah, I also didn't want to do that either,
Yeah.
but I was like, this is kind of everything I wanted. Like, I wanted an action adventure show. I wanted to be a part of this kind of crew. This is DuckTales. This is like, in previous episode, when we say like there are a few like shows that are like top tier big budget shows.
Oh, that's your A-list show?
Yeah.
That's the A-list show for
at
Disney,
the time.
apparently.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, everyone's telling me I'm stupid if I reject Disney and this particular show, and it would pay me a lot more than I was currently getting paid.
Peanuts at DreamWorks.
Yeah. And I was kind of like, everyone is telling me I should be grateful. Everyone's telling me I should do this. So I confide in my coworker, and I'm like, I just don't know. Like, why is it like pulling teeth for something that should make me happy? And he's like, give it a chance. Like, maybe it's the environment. Maybe, like, he already knew I had like some issues with like the office politics in general, specifically of that show, but in general, he knew me fairly well. That I'm like Larry David. I gripe a lot.
Little did he know that office politics would get so much worse on DuckTales.
I know. I remember telling him after I had submitted my test, and then they practically immediately like called me back and was like, you got the job. Like I told him, I think like the next day I come into work and I was like, I got the job. Yay. I hope they like me. I hope they're not mean to me. And I literally said that to him, and he was like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure they're super nice.
It's Disney. They're super nice.
They're
Super nice.
All my worst fears came true.
Yeah.
And and
now here you are.
Here I am. But yeah, even then I was like in denial. I really took his words to heart and was like, yeah, that's true. I need to give this a chance. I need to at least give this a chance and try it out. Maybe it is just I need a change of scenery.
Before you left Disney, you were offered a storyboarding job.
Yeah.
And then I was even telling you, you work so hard.
Yeah.
You spent 3 years. Remember this?
You were
I
in
told you
denial
this.
for me.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, you worked 3 years as a revisionist. I mean, I know the people on DuckTales, but like this is a new thing. You get to be a storyboard artist, and don't you want that?
Yeah, one of my previous directors who I really respected, who really like, that there are a few people in my life that I consider like, you really shaped how well I became. And they might not always know it at the time, but like these people, they really like turned me into a professional or someone who could draw better or whatever it was. And like he really,
You appreciate these things
yeah,
that these people have done for you.
yeah. And I like would have loved to work for him as a storyboard artist, and to work with him again. And I was kind of like, I really had to really reassess, because now it was
okay, so you're talking about when your favorite director reached out.
Yeah.
And this was about the same time when you were thinking of leaving DuckTales, that like this director was like, oh, you want to be a storyboard artist instead of a revisionist this time on this project I'm working on?
Yeah.
And I remember that was the only time, because you liked working with that director so much that you were like, Maybe I could stay in Hollywood for a little bit longer.
I was like, this is the thing though. Like, one of the things that adds to this feeling of denial is, again, for the most part, the normal lifespan of a job is like 9 months to a year, maybe more. You might get 1 or 2 seasons and then you have to look for work again. You adapt to this lifestyle. You deal with the stress and the anxiety, and you
cope.
You cope. Rarely are you so lucky that you get on a show like Simpsons.
That's so rare.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get on a show that's just guaranteed to have a season.
Yeah.
Season after season after season.
And
if you do, you're really lucky.
Yeah. But a lot of people, end up getting burnt out in those types of shows, or like
double-edged sword.
Yeah. And it's like get driven insane a little bit, which is why they're always hiring. So for me, I got to a place where I was like, I think they're never gonna let me go. Like Hollywood as a whole. I was like, I literally need to self-eject myself.
Yeah, because you've been in it for about 3 or 4 years. They're not, when you've proven yourself that long, they're not going to let you go. When you've paid so many guild dues. Like you're such an important asset to this community. Yeah. Monetarily.
You've made enough connections, and you've made such a good impression, hopefully, with certain people who will hire you again. They kind of like take you on whatever show that they're on.
And they're probably working with some scrub, and they're thinking about you going like, if only I had Janet again. Yeah. I hate working with this new person.
Yeah. Or you you can be lucky too, and you get a little bit of a reputation of just being trustworthy or
reliable.
Yeah.
That's all you really want when you're in a position to be some kind of director. You're just like, you just want to not feel like you have to bend over backwards to give direction to somebody.
But also, you also realize, and this is really important if you do want to work for any kind of corporate job, it's scary for them to lose talent. They don't want to fire you.
They don't like that shit.
They really actually don't.
Yeah. And they pretend like they don't give a about you, but you realize how much they actually give about you when you say, I think I'm going to move to this studio. Yeah. They don't like that. They don't. Yeah. They really hate that shit.
It's your best way to get a raise.
Yeah. Okay, fine. I guess. Yeah. I guess they can know.
Yeah. And when you realize that, but honestly, you kind of have to be very self-aware. If you don't,
you have to be good. Yeah. I mean, like you can't be pulling this type of bullshit. No. Without, being like a C-level artist. Yeah, no. You have to have a little bit feared or something. Yeah. You gotta be one of the bigger people.
Yeah, exactly. So be warned taking any of our advice.
Oh, yeah.
But when I realized I got to that point, and no matter what I did, for one, my pride wouldn't let me do anything too drastic that would literally get me fired. But I could slack off quite a bit. Like, picture the main character of Office Space, and that progression of him just like turning into just
basis.
Yeah, like that's me.
Yeah. Just dude, your last year on DuckTales was hilarious. Janet was the guy from Office Space. She just stroll on in, and then 3:00, bye. And you just leave and disappear. But the problem is, they couldn't even get angry at you because you'd finish all your work.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you want from me?
You just stay and watch cat videos if you stayed until 6 anyway.
And I was just kind of like, I could not believe what I could get away with. Because if it were me in my position, I'd at least yell at me. You know what I mean? At least have like a talking to. Yeah. But they wouldn't even do that because I got all my work done on time. So what does it matter? And
they would complain, like they would pull things, like they would, suggest they're a little upset with you that you didn't come to the meeting. But you'd be like,
but I'd be like, I don't care. What? Meetings are a waste of my time. you literally just sent me the notes anyway, so like, why can't we just do that?
Please express to everyone how much you just hate meetings.
I hate them so much. I have to sit there and pretend to take notes for like 5 hours, and I'm just not.
For the animation hopefuls in the audience, what is an animation meeting typically like? You're obviously in some big table. Remember the very, very first episode of this crazy ass podcast where Janet couldn't sit on the table?
Oh, yeah.
Like it's like
I'm not allowed
the 1940s or something at Disney.
You can't sit with us. It's like people nitpicking. I mean, you kind of have to. Like, the director has to be there. I don't understand why I had to. But, like, you decide this or that. Yellow or green. This effect or that effect. This motion or that motion. And you just... Everything. And I'm sitting there like, I don't know why I'm here. Why specifically me? Like, I could be doing so much more than this. I paid so much money to sit in an office chair for 5 hours listening to this. And
man, all those Bambi drawings and all those environmental drawings just to spend 5 hours in a meeting picking colors, looking at backgrounds and color cards and props.
That's why I like. The thing is, like, storyboard artists don't always have to be in these meetings because they're too busy for that. They're working on like the next script. But the thing is, like, directors kind of have to be there, and like revisionists also have to kind of be there. And it's kind of when I realized, like, directors are glorified revisionists. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really sad how little drawing they actually do. How little.
The storyboard artist does the most drawing.
Yeah.
Truly. And I remember one of our biggest concerns about you being a storyboard artist is I just never see you.
Yeah.
Ever.
I would just hate my life even more. Yeah. So I really had to consider with that job offer, with the storyboarding job offer, that was kind of the moment I had to decide. Because I was like, they're never letting me go. Not only is like Disney never gonna let me go, because they were trying their best to retain talent at the time, because Netflix was poaching everyone. They were trying really hard to retain talent. So not only I knew that even if my show ended, they're gonna put me on some other show no matter what. Like I knew that waiting it out wasn't really an option. And then with this...
Yeah, you were waiting for them to lay you off.
Yeah.
You were crossing your fingers.
Please lay me
You were
off.
crossing your fingers. They would lay you off after DuckTales. Yeah. They wouldn't.
No.
And you can't like, coerce your employer to lay you off. It doesn't work that way. Once they decide to hire you, you either have to quit or accept the offer.
Yeah. So, and then like with the whole storyboarding offer, you were like, you worked so hard
for this. Like, you're finally being asked to be a storyboard artist on this Asian show. See, you're Asian.
Well, that was later. This is like with my other director.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Like, you're finally able to actually be a storyboard artist.
Yeah.
You worked so hard to be in this position for someone to finally ask you.
Yeah. Like, you put in your years, and now like you're getting a promotion. Like, this is everything you ever wanted. And I was like, yeah, this is, but why do I not want it? And I really was like, if I turn this job down, that means I'm committing to leaving.
So if you say no to your favorite director you've ever worked with in the past 4 years, there's nothing Disney could do to get you to stay.
No, yeah. Why would I?
You're basically saying no at this moment.
Yeah. I took I forget how much time, but I needed to think about it, because it really was like I worked so hard. Like this is truly kind of, you have those times in your life that you know, like this is the next step to get to where you wanted to go. Like I knew that if I worked under him as a storyboard artist, specifically in animation, I would get the skills needed to eventually direct as well as him. And he was like Emmy award winning director, all this stuff, and I was just like, who would I love to learn how to direct better under than this person? And he could really like mentor me and into that position one day. And I knew that like if I turn this down, like this is like real that I don't want this. Yeah. And it was hard. Like I had a like it was like emotional, and I was just kind of like dealing with like the confusion. And when I realized, like I was reading the 4-Hour Workweek at the same exact time. Mm-hmm. And there was like a chapter in the book where he was like, do you want to start living when you're like 65? Because I in my head I kept thinking like, well, I can put it off till later. I can like achieve these things now. I work so hard just to like stop halfway. I can achieve these things. What's the harm of like postponing, like trying to actually pursue this thing anything that is my own? What's the harm in postponing that till later? I have plenty of time. I'll just, I'll do this, and then I'll end up becoming a director one day, and then I can like go and pursue this other thing that I wanted. But then like that book really helped me like overcome my fear, because there's a lot of fear involved in it too.
You are just pushing it off.
Yeah. You're procrastinating.
Exactly.
And you're thinking like, well, there's this sure thing. This is not a sure thing. This is scary. This is new. I don't know what I'm getting myself into. Not completely, and I don't think I'll ever really be prepared completely for this other thing. And I think that book really helped me go like, oh, like it's only going to get harder, like to leave. So when I said no to him, it was like it became really real. That I'm like, oh, I don't like this. Like I finally accepted it. That's why it's never easy turning down Disney. Like, oh man, like you don't understand. Like you think it's easy until. Should
I share my story?
Yeah.
You want me to share my story?
I think I.
Yeah. Okay. So last year I got approached by Disney for a project, and I always thought, especially after you quit, that especially with how they treated you too,
that you would never.
That I would be like, it would be easy to say no. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not like that passionate. I wouldn't like write an angry email going, "F you, Disney," or whatever. But like when they offered it to me, and this was like, when was this? This was last summer?
I don't remember. It was like,
I think it was last fall.
Yeah.
Last fall even, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, last fall. I was really thinking, because the show that I'm already on is pretty awesome already. Mm-hmm. And I always thought it would be easy to like just say no to Disney. But as soon as like, you read the words, we want to hire you for a project, and then, the Disney insignia with Mickey, drawn really beautifully, and you see the Disney logo, it's real.
Yeah.
it becomes very fucking real that like I could easily like this be the talk of my family, be like the talk of like my friends, be a legend at my school, at my what is that, Santa Monica and Normandy, like where my school was, like I'd be like, oh my god, Vincent made it to Disney. He did it. And everything was like just screaming like, why not do it? I mean, why not?
And I kept like, no, don't do it. Yeah. Don't do it.
And I was like thinking like, but it's Disney.
I was like, but the job you have right now.
And then just after so much torment, like after so much just like I made a what do you call that list?
Like a pros and cons.
A pros and cons list. I made a pros and cons list, and that's how you know it gets serious. like I made a pros and cons list for you, like dating you.
Yeah.
So like shit is serious when I'm writing a pros and cons list. Like, okay, because I'm literally accepting a reality like you. Like when you said no to your favorite director, this is like saying like, I'm gonna be consistent here, and I'm going to put my foot down, because no one in the industry just does. You know, as soon as they get offered a job by Disney, it's just like they go clamoring. So then I was just like, and two, it's just like, this deal I have is good. I don't think there's a show on Disney that is a better deal than what I got. And I'm trying to be really vague because I don't really give two shits for you guys to know what show I work on. But it really is tempting, and they know. It's almost like they know. Like, we're Disney. So what I did was just like, I politely declined, and I recommended 3 of my favorite designers for the job, who I know 1 million times better than me. And I recommended them for the job, and they were appreciative, and that was that. But it was the craziest thing I've ever had to do. It was I went from not giving a shit to like giving so many shits to not giving a shit again.
Yeah, you were tormented.
I was tormented by it.
You kept asking me, how'd you do it?
Like how? Yeah, I think it took. So I was offered in the morning. I could barely get any of my actual work done, because I was just like pacing. I was pacing around the house, just thinking of what, you know. And we're very libertarian about it. You're not going to tell me what to do with my life. I don't tell you what to do with your life. But like, you know, I would be like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? And you would tell me like, don't do it.
You're making a big mistake.
And in hindsight, I made a really good decision.
Yeah.
I think the show, like, I like my peoples, and I like this show, and I can see myself working on this for a while, and I'm gonna be okay with it. And when the end of the ride comes, I don't know what will happen, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But like for me right now, I'm at a pretty good place. But getting that offer was wild. Yeah, that was the wildest. It like, I don't think any of you will ever have the chance to decline a Disney offer, but it is just hard. It's difficult.
Yeah, you truly don't understand until it happens. And you have to be so lucky to be in that place to decline. I don't think anyone will. Very select few people can relate to that. Not like, oh, it was hard to decline a Disney job. It does something to your brain, you guys. It really does.
Oh yeah, I wasn't like I was thinking, oh, like whatever problems you have at Disney, I will like excel at. Like I would be really good at being an asshole, like everybody over there. Like I'd be really, really, really good at it. But I was like legitimately though, I think my what I have is much better. Which is sad to say for you, Disney.
Yeah. So like for me, when again, I just kind of waited till the end of my season, where it was ending. So I was like, I'm gonna take my leave now, and yeah, they kept trying to have me not to leave, which was, I think, I learned a really important lesson near the end there, where like, truly, you have to be really self-aware in order to do this properly, I guess, but you truly do get promotions if you just threaten to leave, and you know that you're powerful, artists. Yeah.
You're actually very, very powerful, even though the whole world makes you believe that you're not.
If you know that you're good and valuable and they can't do without you, or it would make their life more difficult in order to train up someone new or whatever, you have more power than you think. So when I really, truly, I was just like, I'm just gonna wait this out, let me leave. And again, it's not like I was like not a pain to deal with near the end, but I just, I did all my work as best as I could, and then I just left because I thought it was a waste of my time.
It really was. You'd go home and just like do more work, to be honest.
Yeah. And like they really were like, no, but we want you to stay. Here, we'll give you this other job. I'm like, no, thank you. And then they were confused, and they're like, here, let's give you a storyboarding job. I'm like, no, thank you. And then they were like, what? Is she getting poached or something by Netflix? And I remember them like coming to talk to me, like trying to like, so why are you leaving?
No one says no to Disney.
Yeah, basically. They're like very like freaked out. And I was like, oh, well, you know, I'm doing this other career change. I'm basically gonna like go do my convention business, and basically that's actually what we planned.
Yeah.
None of this
None
really.
of this really. It was, but COVID.
Yeah. So then they're like, oh, okay.
She's
like,
gonna become a nobody. Okay.
well, no, they were like, oh, so you mean we could have never convinced her as long as she's not
okay.
going to Netflix? But they were like, oh, okay. And, like I saw like relief. There were in like their face. I just saw relief. Like, oh, that's why. Like they had to know or something.
Little did they know, you become the biggest thorn on their side.
Oh, funny. I like. I wonder if I can say this, but like when the video came out and like they were like trying to make it seem like I was a bad employee and everyone hated me. I have a board, and you get this board every time you leave a show where they sign it and they say like
Oh, you want me to get it?
No, no, it's fine.
Okay.
So sad to see you go, and like hope your new endeavors are like fruitful and all this like kind stuff. And then they make like a speech usually about like how,
What did they say about you during your speech?
They,
you remember?
They basically said that all the directors loved working with me, and that like I was really reliable, and that like it was easy. Like they could just give me something and then I'll like know exactly magically what like that's what I would, if I were hiring a revisionist, that would be what I would want. That like someone is so like perceptive that they could almost seemingly read my mind of like what I needed them to fix. And that's what I would try to be for people. Like, you don't understand, if I like you, if I'm prideful of my job, I'll go like 110% for you. But like, so they were saying like these nice things about me, so I thought it was really funny that like they were trying to like badmouth me after the fact just because, you know.
I have the receipts.
And I'm like, okay. And I was just like, see, it's like, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how well I worked for you, how much I did for you. Like, you know, I'm gonna hang you dry if it benefits them.
Yeah, it don't matter, dude.
So, but I remember like every single time that email would come through near the end there and be like, we got you a job, you're staying with us. It's like, I have to say no.
Yeah.
Like the stress of saying no to Disney. And then the first time I was like, no, and it was hard. And then I had to say it again, but like with more incentive tacked on, and I was like, I would tell you too, like,
oh, that sounds like a really good deal, babe.
Yeah, I'm like,
sounds like a really good deal. I would take it.
I have to say no again.
Okay.
And then when they came into my cubicle to like really try to convince me, I was like, now I have to say no in person.
To their face.
To their face. And so I said no. Like, yeah, they made it really difficult for me to just to really like, sure. The universe was like, you sure? You sure?
You sure you want to change the course of everything?
Yeah, you sure? And I was like, yep, I'm sure. Bye-bye.
You sure you want to be the biggest thorn in animation's ass ever?
So it's not easy. It's definitely not easy to reach full acceptance, especially for me, having to turn down Disney like 3 times.
It's hard. I don't know. Like, that was honestly the first time in my professional career that I was making a decision as you know, as colossal as, like, you know, dating somebody. or asking someone out, oh, will you be my girlfriend? Like that's like, yeah, you get the butterflies, or you have to dump somebody, or whichever, like those things that felt that magnificent. It felt that intense. And it was, man. Let us know in the comments if you have. There's no comments for this, but let's say there is one person who has had to say no to Disney. Let us know in the comments below what show you declined and why. We'd love to know. And please tell us a story. Tell us a story down there about how you declined Disney.
Oh God, no comments.
No comments. No, but really, like we're starting. The last podcast got about 500 views. Who the fuck are you people? First of all, and second of all, there must be some sort of person that has had to say no to Disney. At least one of you. So hopefully, please, we'd love to know. We'd love to know because I mean, we only know each other.
Yeah.
No one else says no to Disney.
Yeah. You'd be crazy.
You'd be crazy, and we're, like, how crazy are we? Very crazy.
So, I guess to finally answer the topic of this podcast, how do you get over the fact that you don't like your passion anymore? You're not in love with this thing anymore.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of discouraging posts from artists that we love, and it's sad to see them going through what we went through. First, I mean, it was sad, but actually, you know, it kind of did feel actually like, oh, I actually understand what you're feeling, and that's why I wanted to do this podcast, because when I was feeling that way, when I was feeling like this art thing isn't doing it for me, it's not like, or doing art for fun, not fun anymore. When I realized that, I thought I was going crazy. And I thought if I admitted that to any of my art friends, they'd be like, you've gone crazy.
And they kind of do, the ones who haven't gone through it yet.
Right.
They kind of do think you're crazy. But you're not alone, and it's perfectly okay. Like, you kind of have to go through the depression, the anxiety, the craziness, and then the, like, denial, and forcing yourself to do whatever you think you're supposed to do, and then you have to finally get to acceptance. Once you finally got there, you have to just acknowledge that, like, it's okay to not love this thing that was part of your identity for so long, and then you need to stop and, like, either reduce the amount of art that
especially if you're working professional.
Yeah.
Give it a rest a little bit.
Yeah.
Read some books, watch some movies, go outside, take up a new hobby, be creative. And I think that's the most important part. I think anybody who's made it that far to literally be burnt out with the thing that they used to love, I think, you know, you are a creative person whether you like it or not. And you're going to have to keep doing this because I don't know about anybody else. And I know you and I are kind of similar that, like, if we go days and days without creating anything, let's say we're like binge watching Game of Thrones and playing Bloodborne or whatever it is, and we're not creating for a whole month, it makes us feel gross and disgusting and antsy,
depressed a little.
Like you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
I think this is another thing that I think a lot of people, normal people who aren't creative types, might not understand about people who are creative, but, like, you really do feel kind of depressed if you're not creating for a certain amount of time. Whatever it is you create, whatever it is your creativity makes. And that's, like, the curse of being a creative person. Like, you literally, if you cannot make a thing, you can't, like, you lose, like, that spark, that, like, will life thing, that
want.
Motivation. So yes, you should probably stop whatever passion thing that is no longer your passion, but you do need to kind of replace it with something, a hobby or whatever. So that's why I think a lot of our most mentally well-adjusted friends of ours who aren't the crazy ones in the industry, they have a hobby, because I don't believe this is their passion anymore.
And they have dreams outside of the industry.
Yeah. They do a lot.
They do a lot of stuff.
Archery, climbing, cooking, anything else. Music.
Training animals, music. A lot of stuff. I think us creative people are just super duper creative, and I think I would love for everybody to, I guess, build up their talent stack. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So, in that, like, I would recommend maybe building up a hobby that is going to be kind of useful to you later on in life. And talent stacks, we get this from like Scott Adams, is basically like just build up all the things that you're good at, and you don't have to necessarily be the best, most whatever proficient person at whatever,
and you don't have to spend necessarily too much time training at this new skill. Just a little bit every day is enough.
But you want to get at least kind of proficient at something, and you want to always be learning something. That like passion and that drive to like live, like I said, it always starts at the beginning when you're just learning something. Past the just learning part, then it's grinding. Yeah. So you want to just always be learning something, and by doing that you build up these talent stacks, kind of like in an RPG. You have like different categories of things that you can put:
speech, strength, archery, arcane knowledge.
Technically you can kind of max out everything in your lifetime
if you don't have fun or anything. You could like Bill Murray your life in Groundhog Day.
Basically. And with Scott, there's this amazing lecture thing that he does on that was recorded a while ago when he was younger.
Should we get to this? Is our recommendation? Actually, so we're recommending this link in the bottom.
And you realize, because we watch his morning show
almost every day.
Almost every day.
He is our life coach.
He's a very good speaker. Like, just
we
naturally
aspire to, like, that's like our standard for speaking. Like, if you think we're a thought leader, that's a thought leader. Scott's a thought leader.
He's very good at speaking, and I always thought, like, man, this is really good already in terms of like casualness and his ability to just speak for an hour without
like
messing
your buddy.
up, really.
Not pretentious in any way.
Not trying to get to a certain story or point, or he's just talking. But then you see him a slightly younger in this video, and you realize, oh, that's not even like 50% Scott. That's like baseline.
That's like baseline Scott.
When in the mornings, this is when he's on.
He turns it on.
He's like presenting.
TED Talk mode.
And I was like, oh, he strikes me as someone who isn't great at public speaking at one point in his life, but really worked at it and got good at it. And he's explaining how basically Dilbert was created, and how there's plenty of artists better than him, plenty of comedians funnier than him, plenty of writers who write more virtuously than him, and then plenty of business people who know more than him. But you combine all these things and you get Dilbert, the cartoon,
comic strip.
And that has made him filthy rich.
Yes, he for one of his periscopes, rest in peace Periscope, he took a tour of his mansion. Amazing mansion. And he like took a tour of what's downstairs. An entire tennis court is under his house.
You told me. I was like, wait, he's not at the gym? That's his house.
Oh, he still goes to the gym, but he plays tennis
in his house. Indoor
tennis. I was just like, oh, I want to be the 1% so bad.
You
I want it.
How much we want to be unrelatable to you.
Oh, please.
Make me rich.
And unrelatable. I want to forget the price of milk.
But yeah, he is kind of the first person I've heard talk about it in these terms, like talent stacks. And now that I am trying to do things more than just be an artist, I don't think anyone would just call me just an artist anymore, because I do so much more than that. I really agree with that like it's really, really important to get good at a lot of different things, because you don't know how all of that adds
together.
up in life. That like I didn't know that back when I was editing my animatics in school, that I would be using the same skills to edit YouTube videos, or like...
I didn't know that when I'd be playing GarageBand in my computer that it would eventually evolve for me to understand how to do sound for our podcast.
I didn't know that all the pitching that I learned how to do and all the presenting to an audience would make it easier for me to transition into this role, because I'm really bad at speaking. Just imagine back then in like college how bad I was, and like getting kind of good, and then now being able, with all this practice, to be able to speak for a long time on a podcast. You never know, and that's what gets me up in the morning, though. Like that before, like, it's night and day, like last year and this year, where I was last year around the same time leaving Disney, and this year how I felt, like that depression.
Oh, you mean, wow, 2 years ago?
Was it it was like a year ago.
A year ago is I guess you're right.
Yeah,
yes, sorry.
A little more than a year ago.
Yeah.
I felt depressed. I felt unmotivated. I didn't want to do anything related to art, and I didn't want to be creative. I had really bad feelings. Still do, kind of, honestly. Like I still, like, there's some reason. There's so many people who wanted me straight out of the gate after I left Disney to do something animation related, to do something storyboarding related, to do something that I honestly, in their minds, makes sense for me to do because it's what I'm good at. But there's a lot of, I don't know why, it's really hard for me to get back to doing that stuff. I had to kind of do it for our opening of the vlog, and doing it, it's like, it's so...
Oh, you mean storyboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so,
Gives you PTSD.
Yes, but it's sad because I know how good I am at it.
Yeah.
Like, as I'm doing it, I'm like, I'm so good at this, but why is it painful for me? And so, like...
It's upsetting to know, too, watching you work because you were never this good, but watching you work to this point, and it doesn't even make you happy.
I know.
Yeah, it's tragic. It's like you get... Oh, for example, we went to a beach. Ooh, a nice toasty almond brown. I feel healthy. I felt so good to feel the sun beating and the nice
lay
warm...
in the sand.
Yeah, hearing the beach sounds and stuff. But you took a sketchbook, and you just casually drew, and I could tell, like, it was very low effort.
Yeah.
You know, you're just kind of doodling. And I get up from the sand, and I look over, and you have this beautifully, like, just... very flowy gestural drawing of like one of the kids playing in the sand or something like that. And I was thinking like, wow, how did you get that good all of a sudden? And then I forgot, what did you say?
I was like, I finally got kind of good, and I don't even care.
Yeah.
I just did it.
Yeah.
And like, I think that will be there for a while, and it's like, you know, slowly going away. So like, I can do more filmmaking-esque type of YouTube videos, and maybe eventually incorporating storyboarding and that kind of thing in the future. But like, it's crazy. Like, I've never felt something so intensely that, like, even after a year, I feel a weird like bad feelings about even certain places sometimes. Like, we still live in California, in like this area, and it's like,
you explained to me it's sort of like a bad breakup.
Yeah.
Like you feel bitter, not even bittersweet, just straight up bitter about visiting certain places.
Like, every place has a memory, like, locked in, very, like, just I can't escape it, and it's yeah, unfortunate that I have to like relive it constantly because I live here. But yeah, that I think stepping away, learning these other skills really like helped. Like, I can't even remember the kind of person I was last year because I'm so different.
No,
I have life again.
You look great.
I feel healthy again. I feel motivated, and I'm excited to get up in the morning again. And it's just like I can't possibly think this was a bad decision to have left, because like health wise and mentally, physically, everything is just like 1,000 times better than I was. And at the time I really thought like I wouldn't be able to get here again. And all it took was like stepping back, accepting that I don't like this thing anymore, and learning some other skills.
Yeah, that's what it was like with music for me. Like I think what helped me accept what the counselor was saying to me was when I was thinking, oh, I'm not just a drawer or a painter. I'm just straight up the most creative person I know. And the only thing I know how to do is make things. And you see me. Mm-hmm. Can you describe what it's like living with me sometimes? It's like living with a mad scientist.
Yeah. I want to do this. Now I want to do this.
Yeah. And I just do it. And I did do the whole animation work thing, but as soon as that's done, as soon as I'm able to be finished with that, I like immediately go and like create random music stuff, because it gives me that sensation of when I was, my hand stroking the bond paper and really hearing and listening the sounds of the charcoal, and getting romantic about everything, about the smell of paint. I'm getting that again with music this time, and I already feel it bubbling up, like me wanting to do drawing again, but like it's like barely at 45% capacity.
Yeah.
And I have a long way to go to feel like I really want to sit down and do all that stuff again.
That's how I feel about storyboarding.
Yeah.
It's like barely.
Unfortunately, though, because like you're doing these director things, these vlog things, you kind of have to.
Yeah. That's
the best part is that you're really good at it. You don't have to think about it too much. But the worst part is kind of like it kind of poisons you to do.
Yeah. It's funny because like a long time ago, I think on the podcast, you said like I'm not even giving it like 50% with these vlogs and stuff like that. And like I think like truly what you mean by that is like I truly can go a lot harder.
Oh yeah.
Like I could turn this into a short film if I wanted to, in terms of like storyboarding it, taking it to the next level and shooting it, and really be painfully like detail oriented about a lot of things. But the thing is, it's like I'm like handicapped. I'm like I can't because I can't bring myself to storyboard yet. Not quite like that.
Yeah, you have to spend a lot of time letting those wounds heal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is stupid to say because it's just like a career change.
But you loved it.
Yeah.
There was a point where you really felt strong and passionate about it, like it was a person.
Yeah.
Like you cared about this thing, and all it did was bring you anxiety and despair. And it's hard to not feel that when you're sitting down again.
Yeah.
But it's really easy to feel that again about creating, about making your vlogs and editing them.
Yeah. So like when you, for example, when we shot the opening of the vlog, you were the most giddy I've ever seen you. Yeah,
you were really, really
the thing.
excited. Yeah.
So that's kind of the only way we've both kind of dealt with that, like coming to terms with not loving this thing anymore and finding some new passions. And not letting this thing become your identity.
Yeah.
But I would highly recommend.
And it's not going away.
Yeah.
You know.
It's not going to go away anytime soon. It'll probably come back the longer.
You're always going to be a drawer painter.
Yeah. The longer you're away from it, the more you'll miss it. You'll miss it, and then eventually you'll come back to it.
Yeah. And then it'll hurt you all over again.
Yeah. And so like in Scott's talk, he basically says like he basically talks about how passion is overrated. Right. And yeah, in a lot of ways I kind of agree at this point. I think you really have to live some life to really understand that. So yeah, I really recommend you check out this. It's like an hour, maybe barely
it's
that.
It's a very fast hour.
Yeah, but he's very like engaging, super engaging, very funny. And yeah, if you like this podcast, make sure to like, jingle, hit all our bells and buttons. Head over to honeyandabsinthe.com to help support this channel by buying some merch. If you want to binge all our other episodes, check out these episodes over here, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.